Okay, everyone, well, I think we'll make a start now. Thank you very much for coming, and welcome to you and also those members and officers who are joining us online. Just two notices I want to give at the beginning. For those in the chamber, you'll be aware the latest guidance is to wear masks when indoors now. However, as you will also be aware, we do have members who rely on lip reading, and therefore, if I can ask if you are going to speak tonight, to please take your face mask off. However, if you are uncomfortable about that, and you may be in that position, then what I will do is to reiterate your point after you've said it, in order that all members can then have an opportunity of hearing what is said. So I hope you'll understand that. But if you are able or feel comfortable in taking your face mask off when you speak, then please do so. And then please put it back on again as soon as you've finished. And yeah, those were the 2 points I just wanted to clarify at the beginning of the meeting. So firstly, are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chairman. I have received apologies from Councillor Dan Adams, Councillor Paul Deach and Councillor David Mansfield are joining us virtually tonight.
Thank you. And also Councillor Page is joining us as a guest. The second is minutes of the previous meeting. Are you happy if we confirm and sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of October 2021? Does anybody have an issue with that? Agree. Okay. I shall sign. Go on to number 3. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Okay. So review of Hackney carriage taxi and private hire licensing fees 2022-2023, which Mrs. Lolly is going to introduce for us.
Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of this evening's meeting is to consider the proposed revised taxi and private hire fees as set out in the report in front of you. The Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1976 includes provisions that allows the Council to recover such fees as they consider reasonable to recover the cost of issuing and administering taxi and private hire licences. In July, the Licensing Committee considered a report which set out the proposed methodology for reviewing our current table of fees and charges for the taxi and private hire trade. A copy of this report is attached as Annex B. The report also set out the steps that the Council are required to take when revising fees and charges for the trade. These steps will continue to be followed after tonight's meeting. The committee resolved that the proposed methodology be agreed. No change to the methodology has been made since this resolution that you made in July. Members will recall that officers were already starting to record the time taken to process each type of licence. The information collected during this process has been used to inform the revision to the fees. As a result, we are proposing the revised fees as set out on page 11 of the report. In addition to officer time, these fees include a contribution to other costs as indicated in Annex C. In calculating the additional cost, we have taken into account local government advice and guidance, which indicates what we are allowed to include. I'd like to, at this stage, draw your attention to a number of these fees as follows. With regards to the 3-year driver's licence, you notice that there is only a small change. However, we can assure you that the fee that is recommended represents or reflects the actual cost of producing these licences. In this case, we are seeing a £1 reduction. However, when considering the transfer of vehicle licence fees, this has increased considerably. This reflects the fact that the work involves largely the same checking process required when licensing a vehicle for the first time. It is likely that in these circumstances, only the driver details will remain the same. And of course, these will have already been checked when they were first licensed. In the last year, we have issued 6 of these licences. They are issued when, say, a new car is purchased or following an accident where the original car may be off the road, either permanently or whilst being repaired. The new proposed fees reflects the actual current cost, and it's important that it's current because things change in local local government in terms of cost of producing these licences. Turning to the private hire exemption certificate, the revised fee includes the work involved in checking the veracity of letters from customers stating the reasons why their staff must be transported in a vehicle with no visible plate. In these circumstances, the driver wouldn't be required to wear a badge and the vehicle would be unsigned. In addition, checks are made regarding the suitability of both the driver and vehicle, and this includes safety checks. Other fees listed in the report similarly cover the current cost of producing these licences. With regard to the private hire operators licences, one vehicle for 5 years, and private hire operators licences more than one vehicle for 5 years, it became apparent that there was no demand for these licences, as no applications were received during the period of time recording or since. We were therefore unable to calculate the actual costs of administering these licences. The fees indicated in the report are estimates and include only some of the costs involved and would require further work to determine a suitable fee. Although the report suggests that both these fees are deleted, following a discussion with the chairman, it is proposed that they are retained and that we add a further recommendation to the report as follows. I believe you may have a copy of this recommendation in front of you. The fees for private hire operators licence 1 year, one vehicle 5 years, and private hire operators licences more than one vehicle for 5 years be recommended to remain unchanged, but that the head of HR, performance and communication in her role as interim head of environmental health be requested to further review these charges once further information on the costs are known. It is likely that the proposed revised table of fees based on cost recovery would generate an income in line with current budget estimates for taxi licensing, both this year, 2021, and the proposed income for 22-23. Then that, of course, assumes the same level of activity, of licensable activity. The demand for licences will vary over time. They can go up, they can go down. In these uncertain times, it's very difficult to know where we're going at the moment. Following tonight's meeting, if given the go-ahead, we will be seeking approval of the proposed table of fees as listed in the report. From the head of HR, Performance and Communication, again as interim head of environmental health, in consultation with the finance portfolio holder and the strategic director of finance. We will then put a notice in the local newspaper setting out the proposed fees. This information, and it's something that was suggested within this committee, will also be put on the council's web pages and shared on social media. We are planning to place the notice, etc., in early January 2022 if all goes ahead. There is a 28-day notice period after which we will have one of two options as set out in the July report. Where objections are received, they must be considered within 2 months after the end of the 28-day notice period. Where we receive objections, we are planning to ask the licensing committee to consider the comments at your meeting in February. The committee will be asked to resolve to recommend any changes required as a result of the consultation to the Strategic Director of Environment and Community in consultation with the Finance Portfolio Holder and the Strategic Director of Finance for approval. The fees would then come into effect on the 1st of April 2022. If no objections are received, the fees may take immediate effect. It is, however, proposed that they apply from the 1st of April 2022. The Licensing Committee is therefore asked to resolve this evening that first of all, that the contents of the report be noted, that the proposed revised fees and charges be recommended for approval by the Head of HR, Performance and Communication in consultation with the Strategic Director of Finance and the Finance Portfolio Holder, subject to the 28-day notice period. An additional recommendation is that the fees for private hire operators licences, one vehicle for 5 years, and private hire operators licences, more than one vehicle for 5 years, be recommended to remain unchanged, but that the head of HR, Performance and Communication, again in her role as interim head, be requested to further review these changes once further information on the costs are known. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lolly. And just to be clear as to why that additional recommendation is being put forward. So if you look at on page 12 of your papers and the last two items, you will have seen, as Mrs. Lolly quite rightly highlighted, that those were originally proposed to be deleted because there was no demand for them and there were no licences. However, you will also note that one of the possible reasons why that may have been is because, in essence, it was 5 times the cost of the 1-year licence, and therefore there was no obvious reason as to why someone may do that. So we don't know if there's going to be any demand for this going forward. So what we're suggesting is that we keep the fees as per the officer paper, and that we keep it unchanged. So that would be 425 and 1,075, but that we do look at that in a bit more detail, and that we ask the senior officer to look at that. And that's the reason for the change to the recommendation. So it's keeping the 2 that are in there and adding a 3rd bullet point. So I hope that's clear to everybody. I'm sorry if you didn't have that in front of you, but it was only yesterday that we discussed that, and I hope the reasons for that are clear. Members, can I ask, are there any questions or comments? If I look around the room first, then I'll come to anyone on screen. Okay, I can't see any. I can't see any on the screen either. Okay, well, in which case I'll go straight to the recommendation. And the Licensing Committee is advised to resolve that, little 1, the contents of the report be noted. Little 2, the proposed revised fees and charges for the taxi and private hire trade be recommended for approval by the Head of HR, Performance and Communication in consultation with Strategic Director of Finance and the Finance Portfolio Holder, subject to the 28-day notice period. And little 3, the fees for private hire operators licences 1 vehicle 5 years and private hire operators licences more than 1 vehicle 5 years be recommended to remain unchanged, but that the Head of HR, Performance and Communication be requested to further review these charges once further information on the costs are known. Can I ask if you're in agreement with that to please raise your hand? And I confirm that that is unanimously agreed. Thank you very much. If I then that concludes the formal business of tonight's meeting. Just 2 quick things, really. One is, obviously, we have another meeting at 7 o'clock. I understand you don't have to sit in this room until 7 o'clock. You can sit in the members' room. I believe there may also be other space for you to go safely until 7 o'clock if you want to do that. And secondly, perhaps even more important, is to wish all members and officers of the committee a Merry Christmas and my best wishes to all of you for 2022. And thank you for your service on the committee over the past year. It's been very appreciated. So thank you very much. And I can conclude the meeting. Thank you.